Thing.
Yo, welcome. Another three-headed monster podcast coming to you live. I know it ain't normally Friday, but we trying to try something new and see what happens. So we're gonna do it on. And we're trying this Thursday as a tester. It's because a lot of times we be kind of have stuff going on Fridays, so we still trying to put out content and stuff like that. So again, the Three-Headed Monster podcast. Like, love, show us some love, comment, share, especially on our YouTube and also our Facebook family, everybody. So, hey, it's got an interesting show, man. We're going to see what we can come up with and see what content we can show y'all today. What's going on, Brother Jerome?
Hey, what's going on, B? You already said hello to the family. Just to reiterate, on YouTube, please subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the notification. Be part of the family. The three-headed monster. I see Alex is already commenting.
Already?
Yeah, he said he on time. Thank you for being on time, Alex. So as always, before we get started, everything that we talk about is strictly our opinions based on facts that we research. Please don't believe anything that we tell you. Take all the information, go research it for yourself. Come back. Let's build. Let's politic. Let's go forward. Um, what's up, B?
Yo,
Well,
this is
B. Well, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Before we get started,
Yeah, go ahead and put your shout out.
yeah. Before we get started, we lost a member, a family member, not just here to the show, Three-Headed Monster, but a blood family. Uh, Charles Brooks Lovett. Um, man, I don't even have the words to put it, you know, but somebody that always was on the feed. He was on the show. Um, a great friend of the show, a great um, friend of the family. Um, he passed away um, last week, and I just wanted, while we were on here, just to say that we love the dude, and, and we want to support his family, um, and just I don't even have the words, B.
I know. Rest in peace, man. Rest in peace, Charles. Charles was getting to know Charles. Charles has been on the show. Charles has commented a lot on our show, and again, that's your family. So whatever is your family is my family, and we do want to pay respects to him. Um, I'm not gonna say how we traditionally say he's in heaven. We know he's with the ancestors, so he will be missed. I mean, I just found out before the show started, and I didn't know. I wasn't ready for that one. I wasn't ready for that. So, wow, Charles will be missed, man.
Right.
So, but we're going to continue on this dark history of, you know, early America, not early America, early United States. So something that kind of, something that hit me and something that I wanted to do some research. And when I got to doing the research on it, it kind of blew me away with this Indian Scalp Act, 1776. No,
My
you got
bad.
the thing wrong. Got the feedback,
My bad.
which is interesting because now we're starting to see. This is before 1776, so this is before the United States becoming United States. So we're still looking at. I couldn't tell you how many colonies are still that's going on right now, but we can show you how most of them expand. But this particular Scalp Act of 1776 is basically how Pennsylvania become Pennsylvania size wise, and how this is kind of the beginning phases of what's going on. Um, it's disturbing to see stuff like this. Fuck it, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Let's first of all let's find out. When we talk about Pennsylvania, who and where did Pennsylvania come from? All righty, this guy right here, Mr. William Penn. Now, things about William Penn is, English writer, religious thinker, belongs to the religious society of Friends, the Quakers, which we probably could do a good show on Quakers and who the Quakers are as a people who came to the United States. So, from my little studies on the Quakers wasn't really strong on slavery, but at the same time, people say what they say. But again, he's an English writer, so it's kind of funny. Like, how is an English writer end up getting a whole state under his name? So if you study William Penn, I mean, William Penn is big when it comes to William Penn and some of the stuff that he did. They said that he was really, really good with you know the indigenous people of America. But let's get into some of this stuff. You know, it's not him, but again, this is who the state of Pennsylvania is named after, or this is who they would consider their finder of this. So let's get into this whole Scalp Act. What you know about the Scalp Act, Jerome, or what you have heard?
What I've heard, what I've known previous to looking at it today, I knew that there was a price put on, you know, Native Americans' heads to bring you all right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Bring, oh, okay. Sound like you failed. To bring scalps back for money, but it was also a way to thin down the population of those indigenous people that were, on the land.
True, true.
So
Notes, man. I be taking notes like crazy. I be at work and it's just like sometimes when things just pops in, I have to just put it down on paper because
right,
it's so much again. So we looking at William Penn. We showed you this guy, this author becomes, and I think I don't know if I have it. The reason why he becomes or he gets the infam. Yes, I think. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let's see. Let's look up what scalping is.
all right,
Let's look. Let's look. So we're looking at the Scalp Act. So this is the reason why this whole Scalp Act of 1776. The Governor of Morris elected a Scalp Act. Anyone who brought a male scalp above the age of 12 will be given 50 pieces of 8, which is, and then a female above the age of 12 or males under the age of 12 will be paid 30. So when we look at this in today's money, actually, that's a lot. That's like $150 for anybody over the age of 12, and you look at like $130 at the age under 12. So, how did the colonial government pay for this? Off of bounties of Native Americans. Now they would extend the bounties to countries with American Revolutionary event. So this is going so far back that it goes all the way. This is actually, I mean, you have this act which the governor of Pennsylvania, or the colonists of the Pennsylvania colonists, put out in 1776. But this goes all the way back to the British and French War. And you
Oh
kind of
yeah.
look at it like, wait a minute, British and French War? So they use our ancestors to fight each other. So now we, I mean, because we have talked about the, Virginia Company coming in, one of the major one of the first, ones to colonize the United States with Jamestown. And then when you do the studies of it, you wonder, like, how did they get this much land, and how did they spread so fast?
Right.
Now,
But
say again.
go ahead, finish the point.
No, because now we not no. Actually, I was kind of finished. We're just really trying to see how did they expand, and it's kind of more of a sense of, if you was to, because I got a nice sized property, enough that I have to cut. I use a rod lawnmower to cut my grass, and it still takes me about an hour. But if you just happen to just come and jump in my land and start taking it over, it's going to be some resistance. And
Right.
every time we hear this whole, when you hear Indian scalping, you think of these Indians going around scalping these native, these colonists. And we just showed you that they set bounties for them to do that to our ancestors to
Well,
expand.
well, I
But go
mean,
ahead.
first of all, you got to look at, there's a whole act. There's an
Mhm.
Indian Scalp Act, right? So there's a price. So there's already a set currency for scalps. So this shows you that the Indians or the Native Americans were not the aggressors. You see what I'm saying? Because
True.
you got law not just in one two states, but in the majority of the states or the colonies. There were these acts already in place. Um, actually goes way back. It goes into Europe. It goes, if you want to go first century, it goes all the way back into like Mongolia. Um,
Mm.
so, so the act of scalping, you know, was not just a what you call Native American or Indigenous American thing, because, like I said, um, they had, these, you got to think about it. So if they telling you that if you bring us a scalp of an Indian and we'll pay you this, then the people were not squeamish about going and get the scalps. So it's something they practice. It's a part of their culture. It's a part of European culture, because they wasn't squeamish about going out and killing not just males but women and children
Mm.
for the
Mm.
scalp. You know what I'm saying? So that takes a level of brutality that you can't really understand.
Actually, man, it just me just sitting here just looking at this again. My bad. That was an act,
Right,
and I've kind of found out how did they pay this. It's kind of like, we notice everything is a corporation when you go
right,
back and you start looking at this. Everything is a corporation. A lot of people not understanding that this country started as a corporation.
right.
They look at it as, oh my God, the pilgrims came here, and trust me, them pilgrims, All right, when did these pilgrims get here? So we're looking at Plymouth Rock. Because now you have to understand one of the first persons, well, you got the Dutch governor of Manhattan. Manhattan, West Manhattan, New York City. So we go all the way back to, I mean, we're looking at 1704. Hmm. So he was one of the first ones to even put this out there. And I mean, they massacred people for heads. So you have a war against Native Americans, which again is our ancestors. It's a mad war going on, and they want their heads. So you put it. I mean, so now you have you came over to America, just
But
saying like one of the sailors.
right. But you gotta expand upon it too, because it's not just the settlers or these conquerors that are taking the
Uh,
scalps.
you got
They
Indians fighting
actually,
Indians.
yeah, they actually paying other Indian tribes to bring scalps of your enemy, if you will. And so you talk about the money, because imagine $150, 200 years, 300 years ago was a extreme amount of money, right? So you're
Mhm.
talking about, say you run onto a village of 30 people, you got 30 scalps, and you're paying 150 per pop. I mean,
Mm.
that's a tremendous amount of money back in those days. So you looking at that was a way, that was a for the government, and not, when I say the government, I mean the government. I'm talking about the elite body of landowners. That was a cheap way for them to rid the land of the people that were actually on it. They were going to make way more money off the land than what they were paying for scalps.
Dangerous.
So they would pay for scalps to clear the land. You see what I'm saying? Because they knew the land was more valuable, but you had to remove the people that were on the land. So they would have even Indian or native against native, just for money.
Let me add this into this. So I'm sitting, I was reading this article and it was really talking about, William Penn who came here 1620, develop a relationship with all the local. I can't make this bigger. I wish I can. I'm not savvy on my computer like that. But, he becomes, he's good with the locals. But after he died, that's when the shit starts popping. Because his William Penn, he was, to see the William Penn family, well, the Penn family changed from let's work with the natives to this land is ours. Now get off of it.
Right.
Hmm. So now we have a bunch of treaties that gets put into place. Now we have the Treaty of 1732, removal of the Shawnee from the Szechuan River Valley.
Okay.
So now you have that treaty. You have the Treaty of 1736 between man, I can't say that. Iroquois.
That's Iroquois.
So I mean, they wait a minute. Wait a minute. What do you mean between? So this is. I mean, now we understanding that a lot of these colonists is pushing in, and you're pushing a bunch of native tribes together. That's how some of these native tribes become big because it's kind of like right now, you and you from Forest City, North Carolina, which can be its own tribe. I'm from Gaffney, South Carolina, which can be its own tribe, and we was moved in together. So we had to combine forces because we was losing our native land. So now we have, so William Penn bought his land from Delaware. He purchased all the rights above all of Delaware and stayed in the land. 1737. So now he ended up purchasing because his father, the king of England owed his father some money, and what do his father gets? Purchase of land. Where the hell are they buying this land from? From
No,
who?
better yet, who they buying it from?
Who are they
You know what I'm
buying this
saying?
damn land from?
Because it's obviously it's deeded if you're buying it. So if the colonies found this land with just random Indians on it, who deeded the land? You
So
know,
they saying he bought his land from the Delawares. So they consider the Delawares as this own tribe, which
right,
is the Delaware, the lower South Jersey, Pennsylvania area.
right.
So
And like Iroquois, like the Iroquois was not one tribe.
yeah.
You know, that was a collection of different indigenous people because Iroquois itself, the word is not even a Native American word. It's a French word.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, it's all a big land grab. You know
Man.
what I'm saying?
hmm
And they were taking out Native American people, to get the land. Plain and simple.
So they saying he purchased this land, but he allowed the natives to stay on this land. Interesting.
Mm.
That you purchase something from somebody and you say, you know what, I'm buying this. You don't know I'm buying this, but I'm gonna let you stay on. But when he died and his son took over, his son told the nation that there was a deed for the land sold to his father. He produced a forged document including the name of the Indians who already passed it on. I mean, who had already passed on. So these elders don't know who the hell all these people that you're saying. So Penn
Right,
convinced Delaware to set up an event. So now we have a problem. So which called the walking purchase. Damn, this shit just get interesting. I thought he already owned the land. So how can
right,
you say in this walking purchase that you walk and you saying, as I'm walking, we discussing, can I have this land? This is mine. This is yours. This is yours. This is mine.
right,
So it starts to kind of get ugly because now we have, I mean, even Ben Franklin talks about this in some of his treaties, which, I mean, at the same time, he ain't that big of a dude, but at the same time, this is Philadelphia is considered what? One of the first, it is considered the first capital of the United States before DC came into it. So it's so many different Indian tribes that's, a part of this. So that means all these tribes has a bunch of different elders. So we had conflict fighting between both sides. In some cases, there was massacred tribe. They was massacring tribal members. Wow, this is crazy. Which complex time period and such that it was all, which was all Europeans was not in this case in media. And so such fight the British, blah 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 blah. The minor So this is where this is getting important because now you're wondering where the hell are they getting this money from? Which to me, I'm still wondering where the hell did these colonists make all this damn money from? Because what are they selling?
One, they always say, these people escaped over here for religious freedom, and they make you think that they poor people. But who came first was the landowners, people that had money in England. So they coming over here as investments and to expand on their business venture.
So we're still talking about a corporation.
Of course, it's always about the money, B.
Always a corporation, and everybody keep thinking it's not a corporation. So in December 1755, there was some minor attacks that the settlers on the frontier appealed to the Pennsylvania legislature. So now we was like, wait a minute. So now we big enough? Because I mean, we going from all the way from Pittsburgh. So they asked for money for forts. So they asked for $60,000 for forts. Instead of the money was set up the fund to remove Indians from their borders. So this is when Governor Morris starts the Indian Scalp Act, which anybody who brought a male skull for 50p a copy, blah 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 blah. So now we start to see the ugliness of America, and why we wondering how the hell did they get all this damn land? Because they make it seem like this land just was just given to us.
Right.
So this is not pretty. This ain't this land is your land. This land is my land. If you study it, you look at it and like, man, what the hell just happened here? They scalping people for money. So if I'm somebody who just happens to, because everybody got to understand the first indigenous servants were people that was mostly people that was in jail in the English colonies. So you have to serve your 8 years of servitude. There's 8 years or 7 years of servitude, and you get land. You get money and land for doing what you're doing. So it ain't no different. Yeah, but it ain't like what it is today. You go to damn jail, you get out, and your life is ruined. Back then, you go to jail, you get out, and you get land.
Yeah, right.
You get.
Well, y'all look at who is in jail and who is released.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
It's different times.
But I mean, they was doing that too. They was doing that to indigenous, because everybody has to understand. Now we're looking at prisoners of war, because there's a lot of fighting. It is a lot of fighting. So now we see that the government, well, they colonists went to basically whoever they borrowed their money and lended money from, they used to use the Scalp Act. So they went and massacred our ancestors. And I'm gonna keep saying our ancestors because they was people of color. Not the Indians that you know of, but people of color. And I mean,
you gotta look, they were mixed in too though. You know what I'm saying? Even those of the colonial background, they were in there too, and they were one of the big helps for the settlers to take out the indigenous brothers and sisters that look more like you.
But this is a power grab. So if your father was somehow he purchased the land, or he was given the land as a favor to pay off a debt. It's funny that a king owes a normal, just anybody. But this again, that shows you who's high in society and who's really came over here, because the people that purchased land was not nobody that was cheap.
Right.
So this is before 1776. So this is when we start seeing, we talked about the Indian Removal Act. We talked about, we still in this pre-America, pre-United States era.
That's what I was about to say, because think about it like this. Pennsylvania,
big state now. It's huge.
Right. But you're talking about 1756. This is before the Revolutionary War.
And they grabbing land. They still now. They purchasing.
Okay, let me say it like this. So you see, prior to the revolution, right? You see these people setting up land.
Oh, my bad. I think my internet was about to go out again.
Yeah, you did freeze up for a minute.
My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. We've been getting hit by crazy storms lately. I think we getting the remnants of this hurricane that came through. So we got a little, some tornado warnings and stuff like that that's going on. Wait a minute. Let me see. What did Alex say? Let me show what Alex put up here. So he used to heal the boots to kill women and children to save the money on their bullets. So entire heritage. It's a lot of hate, but it's a lot. Like I said, we talking about a money grab. So I mean, this is acts. So in other words, these are laws that's put out, and these are bounties that they put out. I mean, this. Let me see. Let me find another one. I can show you another one. This is actually in Canada. Wow. So the governor in Canada, the British Scalping Proclamation of 1756. So this is really must become a mad problem because this is actually for this is the tribals that's in Canada. It's kind of like in the Montreal area.
Right.
So say, and this, Governor Charles puts it out there that these people are a problem. We need it, and they say here we hereby promise by with the evidence and concern that the majesty of the courts to reward 30. I think that's 30 francs to every male Indian prisoner above the age of 16 brought in alive, or for a scalp of such males will be £25 and £25 for every Indian woman or child brought in alive. Such reward will be paid by the officers commandant of the highest fort of the province immediately receives the prisoner or scalps above mentioned. So you just throwing people in jail. So what do? You giving everybody a legal right to go and hunt humans. So we have that bounty. So we have bounty of 15 and 25 cents for Indian scalping, which increased in 1760 for $5. This is in California. Let me show you another bounty. This is in Minnesota. This is actually in the Dakotas, I think. Hereby the
Hey, the one that was in California, what was the year?
1856.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying. I think this is the code. Officers. So you got proclamations just popping out of everywhere saying it's okay. As long as we say it, it's okay. It's okay to be doing it. In Massachusetts, British soldiers frequently murdered by native allies and French war. Blah blah blah. So we might need to talk about this whole King George War. This is when they showed that the scalping of America. So scalping customs. So it was part of war. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
so
Now,
in a,
what they used to do in Europe is they would take like the heads as trophies, right?
true.
So you couldn't kill 11 people and have 11 heads. That's hard to carry, you know. So what
Hmm.
they would do was scalp. Um, so what they started scalping and just bring the scalps back instead of the whole head, and that process um, is that's why I said you'd be surprised at the history and the brutality of Europe and what was brought to the United States.
No, dude, they came here in peace. They came here to get away from religious freedom and be free to express their religious freedom.
Right.
That's funny.
Go
That's
ahead.
what we was taught. We
Of
was taught
course.
that I mean, you wait till we get to November. We talk about Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving is not pretty either. But we see these governors of these colonies putting out these proclamations and they want heads.
Right.
So not only did you brought disease that I think it was smallpox that after the Black Plague that weakened and decimated a lot of the indigenous people, and then next thing you know, you unleash everybody out to headhunt, which goes all the way. Because I mean, when you think of scalping, all you think of is the Apaches. What's the other was
The Mohicans,
the Comanches.
man,
You keep hearing about the
all
whole
the
Wild
TV
Wild
names,
West.
right?
The whole Wild Wild West going
Right.
down.
It's
So
all
the
the TV
Spaniards,
westerns.
went through a lot of this when they actually coming up through Mexico. These people wasn't going down fighting. You can't come in somebody's house. I mean, we're dealing with it right now. We're seeing this whole BS in Afghanistan. You walked in their house, you walked in their neighborhood, you walked in their country thinking that you can take over, and they fought back. The minute you leave, what happened? Shit got it's it's getting crazy.
It's
So
crazy.
I want everybody to see that we didn't just lay down without a fight.
True.
I want everybody to understand that we built what they have here. This was already built. They kind of just walked in and just took over. So, how they make it seem like, because you ain't nowhere in hell. So we say the first slaves came in 1624, somewhat. Was it 16? No, the Virginia, Jamestown, 1619.
Yeah, 1619.
1619. 100 years later, we have colonies all the way from Maine all the way down. So if you study this whole Scalp Act, every state has it. We have Indiana, we have Kentucky, uh, let's see, Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Colorado, Arizona, California, New Mexico. Each one has a Scalp Act.
Right.
So what does that mean for you to? And then what happens is that means you get your little posse up, and then we going headhunt. So for me to make money,
And
I don't
that
have to
that's
work.
the whole thing, B. Like I said, you could you could commit genocide, on people, and it was law, and you actually got paid for it. So they would pay other tribes. Other tribes didn't understand that they were committing. Uh, they thought they were committing an act of war. Well, they didn't understand that it was genocide for the whole indigenous people in North America. You're talking about. You said, I think you said Black Plague, but that wasn't here in
I
America. That
mean, I
was
mean, I meant to
smallpox.
say smallpox, smallpox.
Yeah. So you were battling smallpox, and plus uh, the genocide of paying people to chop other people's head off, even women and children. So um,
It's like guerrilla warfare.
yeah, it's definitely that. I mean, but nothing has any boundaries when you chopping off a child's head. Come on, man. And some of those, I don't know if you looked up, some of those scalping, um, they would ask for the ears to be included. You know, yeah. So I mean, we're dealing with sick people,
Yeah. So the first bounty was 1641.
right?
So I mean, you got Massachusetts colonies was doing it for $60 per Indian in 1703.
Right.
New Hampshire started theirs as £100 for each male. That's back in 1724. Mm.
So I mean, you're talking about, we're talking about. uh, what was the biggest cash crop at the time in America? It was us. It was our scalps. We were, and like I said, it was for them. It was a double shot because you you got the money from it, but at the same time, corporations were benefiting from the land being cleared and people being relieved of their lands.
And they taking over the crops that's already been already produced.
Right. Just take over a town, kill everybody in it, and take the town.
Man, this
You
is
know, because when you think of Native Americans, you've been taught to think of these long-haired people that lived in teepees. No, indigenous people that had cities that were builders. You know, I mean, you don't inside of 150 years go from one coast to the next coast and have cities already built. Come on, man. That don't even make sense.
especially if you understand what's the purpose of the Revolutionary War. So
Right,
these people was, I mean, when you just shipping people over, it's just shipping people over. So now we look at England, France, Spain, the Dutch, the Netherlands, everybody in Europe. So now if we go back and we study European history, they constantly fight each other,
right,
constantly fighting, just money grab money. Everybody's grabbing land. Everybody's grabbing land. So you come over here and you brought that same brutality here.
right.
And I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money,
That's a
but it's
lot of
not.
money.
See, the thing is, this is what you got to realize. All this was prior to 1776, right?
Yes.
So you had all this land clearing, the moving of the people off their land, taking over cities, taking over, well, let me call them towns, uh, taking over these lands, right? You
Mhm.
said there was the money. Where was the money coming from? It's coming from the British government, right?
Yes.
So now, once the British government had paid to have the land cleared,
Bridget,
people,
and I mean, no, it was you have the Dutch, you have the British, you have the French.
no, 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 let me just say
Yeah.
it like
Go
this.
ahead, go ahead. My bad. I'm sorry.
So once they have paid for the land to be cleared, now the people here in the United States says, okay, we want the land. You don't pay for it to be cleared. So we're gonna double cross you and take the land.
But
So,
we see this with with Pennsylvania.
right,
They didn't know that you actually had a treaty or you had this agreement saying that your father or your forefathers purchased this land. And it's kind of again, who the hell are you making deals with? What document is written? Because if you bring in a native, if you come to me and if I don't speak your language, I don't know your customs, and you hand me a piece of paper and tell me to sign it, I don't know how to sign it because I don't write English.
right. I get you on that, but see, I think that's one of the falsehoods that was being taught is
Hmm.
because they had to know the language. You just don't come up with a whole treaty and sit down at the table and nobody understands each other.
But I mean, but you understand, this is how the peace pipe is done. We
I
see
get
how
that, but see, that's movie stuff, right?
they
You know
don't
what I'm
smoke.
saying?
You telling me they wasn't smoking weed back then?
I didn't say it wasn't spoken weed. I'm just saying we always shown this is what happened, right?
True that. True that. True that.
Because okay, for example, if in the 1700s, they were making treaties with Morocco
Yeah.
about the land of, obviously somebody there wasn't a language barrier.
True that. True that.
You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, and we got to think there's always been trade with North America. It's
Hmm.
just the Europeans never controlled the trade.
Uh oh, starting to get into my little territory here. Starting to get in my territory here. I
So,
mean,
I mean, that's what we gotta look at. We gotta look at language. Um, the reason why, like when you take Europe for example, they're Latin-based languages. You know, they all have the same syntax because you had to trade and deal with the people that were around you.
True, true,
So you had to have some similarities in the language that you spoke.
true.
So whoever that you dealt with it because you could understand them, or you wouldn't be dealing with
It's a common language, basically.
them.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
it's a common way of trade and this trade, but for them to bulldoze our ancestors and turn around and teach us a totally different story.
of course.
But actually, no, they don't need. They no, they don't teach a different story. They just don't teach to tell us that at all. Because only thing you know about is Plymouth Rock, Thanksgiving, Declaration of Independence,
Right.
and it's kind of like, hey, whoa, how did y'all get this? All these colonies pop up because that was one of the questions I was wondering before we even got deep into this research that we've been doing. Is how the hell did these colonies get so damn big, and how did they grab so much land? And studying this shit hurts looking at this, man.
Right.
This hurts and it makes me want to dig farther. It makes me want to dig deeper.
Right.
And again, I appreciate, what you just being on here and we able to share this information because a lot of people don't want to talk about this. This ain't something people want to talk about. This ain't something people want to hear about. Because from what we'll be taught since we all came here on slave ships, you would
So
think they did these to the Native Americans that we know of today. And no, it's a
right.
mixture, like you say. It's a mixture of that. So you're looking at black and brown that was here. Is that better?
Yeah.
Black and brown that was massacred for a fucking head, for a souvenir.
True. I mean, you gotta look at it like this too. Okay, take for example, if the ones that you think were the Native Americans were the ones that were here in this country totally, and
True.
they fought back, why would the remnants of who they are stay in just a reservation?
It was fair. A lot of it. Oh, you good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I just had some technical difficulties. Uh, no, what I'm saying is, if they were the majority here in this country,
Mm-hmm.
are you telling me you killed almost 90% of a population and put the remaining ones on a reservation and they're cool with that?
Mm.
Or were the ones that were revolting, what you would call slave revolts, the ones that
Mm.
are still being fought today, are the people who actually was on the land and still is trying to be moved off the land?
Slavery in reverse,
There you go.
which is something that we're gonna keep digging into because again, I don't know. I just love this history before 1776. Before this becomes what because now you're starting to see how a lot of this is. We see a bunch of outlaws out here, or you can say even look at the slave patrol.
Right.
They in here. Are they really patrolling or are they out here killing our ancestors? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting when we see this history unfold.
Right.
I mean, all the way from Canada all the way down. You know.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it like this. Like I said, 1600s, right? And so 1650 is when they probably really started coming over.
Hmm.
So that 150 years that I talk about, that would lead you to the 1800s, 1802 to 1807, when you see Haiti having its revolution. So you're talking about inside of that 150 years, you got 2,800 miles from one coast to the other, 1,570 something miles from top to bottom of the United States. So you're telling me that they suddenly popped up and built all these towns, cities, uh, uh, trading posts in 150 years with people that didn't even know when they got here how to plant corn, didn't know how to plant potatoes. Come on, man, stop that.
This is what we was taught in school. This is the indoctrination of history in school. Cover the truth, because the truth. This is part of what of that critical thinking theory or
Right.
critical race theory.
Man, stop. Yeah.
I that's
Yeah.
that's that's a bunch of BS too. I mean, we talked
Right.
about it, but at the same time, I actually think we wasted time talking about it because history is history. But you can't. I mean, we researched this and we found out that it was an Indian Scalp Act of 1756.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't go into the archives. We didn't go to the Congress library, the Library of Congress and get this. This is, information that you can search and find. You're not going to find a lot of it on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that now.
I mean, now think about it like this from this perspective.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it was 23 states that had these scalping laws by the 1800s, right?
Yeah.
So, so look at the mentality that put into the people. That you can look at another human being and say, "Well, I can kill that man, his wife, his children, and I can get X amount of dollars." That's the mentality that was set in the United States. And not only once you kill them, you take their land. And so
Well,
they
you're getting
want
deep there. You're
they
getting
want,
deep.
they want. I mean, and this is all legal to do. This is legal to do.
This is laws.
Yeah. And so we want to whitewash everything to make it like, oh, it was, these people were being persecuted and they just wanted to break free from England. No, you talking about murder was law.
It's in their DNA. It's
And
kill,
then
kill, kill.
so okay, so think about it. So if I got an Indian Scalp Act of 1756, 100 years later, when you have an Indian Removal Act, if 100 years prior you could kill a family and take their heads, when you create a Indian Removal Act, is that going to be less violent or just as violent? So that means you could just totally remove. You don't even have to give the scalp up. You just have to remove them.
But it lets you know how many people was here. For you have like you said, we have a Scalp Act. It don't really give you a number how many. I mean, you probably won't have a number how many people was really massacred. But for you to have an Indian Removal Act to even push them away, that means that's a lot of people that was here. A lot of people was here. And then we keep seeing how the United States started to become United States. It was by blood. They they killed. They
Exactly.
killed people. I hate to say it. I mean, is just to show you the ugliness of it. It's no different than what we do as a military anyway. Now we kill, we kill and take over.
I mean, it was ethnic cleansing. You know what I'm saying? It's
Oh, you
genocide.
say genocide?
Yeah, easy. That's what it was. A lot of people don't understand. when you talk about concentration camps, there were concentration camps for black people all in the United States, where they would gather you up by the thousands and kill you by the thousands. The Devil's Punch Bowl. You can Google it. There's over
Mm,
20,000 indigenous blacks. I use blacks so we can have some context. Indigenous blacks that were killed in one place. And it was a
drowned them.
concentration camp, the
They,
Devil's Punch Bowl.
they drowned them. Oh, you talking about that? Wait a minute. That's not Mississippi.
The
A
Devil's Punch
lot,
Bowl was in California.
yeah, a lot of these lakes that we, frequently swim in were our ancestors' land, and they just
They flooded them out and killed them.
flooded them out. So we are. I mean, I hate for us. No, I'm glad we're informing people of the ugliness of what has happened to our people and wondering why our people disappeared. Or they make it seem like we're a bunch of cowards and we laid down
Right.
and we took in slavery. And like again, actually, I know I think you talked about it before um, when we was talking about the biggest slavery revolt, which was in Louisiana. I think you discussed that, or you discussed something about New Orleans
Right.
at one time before. We might need to jump into that so we can just show you how strong of a force we had. Um, Again, this is before Haiti, and again, also want to send my prayers up to people of Haiti. Um, Again, this is indigenous land for my wife and her family. So we do lift everybody up in them areas. Um, I hate to see what's going on in Afghanistan and but again, chaos. It happened in our country. We're showing you right now what happened.
True indeed.
It's not a pretty picture, man. If this shit don't piss you off and make you start looking at things differently, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But you got to get in your research and you got to learn. You got to read and understand what's going on because everybody, the division that's going on in this country, and a lot of people don't understand what's truly going on around them. So,
Right.
again, it's always a land grab. Always a land grab. So, anything else you want to add to this? This.
Nah, man, I think this was a good hour, good solid hour. Um, I think understanding the history of America and how bloody it was, the creation of what you presently live in, and that's why when you see the brutality of the police or the brutality of neighbor upon neighbor, one group of people is outraged, and the other is you wonder why they not outraged is because that's the history of how this country was built. That's par for the course.
True that. True
Uh,
that.
but other than that, man, nah, it was good.
All right, y'all. This is another three-headed monster history lesson.
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone that came on. Again, like, share, subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, we just trying to do the best that we can by just putting out different content, but we trying to keep it real. Um, we're not trying to hide anything. We're just trying to let everybody know that again, this is the research that we did. I mean, could we find more? Yeah, it's a lot more out there. I mean, that would take maybe like a month or two to put something together. I mean, I also, do some traveling and stuff like that. But at the same time, we only giving you our opinions and we're just trying to spread knowledge. So All I can say is, you gotta love thyself, understand thyself, and you believe in thyself. That's all you can do. But reading
Yeah.
is fundamental. But go ahead, Jerome.
Nah, well, like I said, well said. I mean, we can close it on that.
All right, three-headed monster, y'all. Peace.